Once upon a time, in the far east, deep in the mountains of a mythical land, there was a world-renowned dim sum restaurant, the first of its kind to achieve the 3 gold ingot status. According to the Gold Ingot Guide, the restaurant was best known for its top 5 most popular dim sum: juicy shrimp dumpling, tender meat dumpling, soft and fluffy barbecue meat buns, flavorful sticky rice, and exquisite phoenix claw. Welcome to Steam Up, a feast of dim sum, where you and up to 4 fellow hungry magical creatures will compete to devour as much of the limited supply of fresh quality foods being served to see who will leave with the fullest stomach. Place the turntable in the middle of the play area. Find the appropriate feast zone indicator ring for your player count by looking at the number of dots to the left of the orange line and place it on the turntable, lining up the orange line with the orange arrow on the board. Put the other ring back in the box. Rotate the platform in the middle so that the 4 arrows point to the arrows on the surrounding board, with the orange arrow pointing to the other orange arrow. Next, set up the steamers. Put all 75 dim sum pieces in the bag and give it a good shake. Put the steamers into 3 stacks of 6 and randomly draw 2 dim sum from the bag to put into each of the first 6, 3 dim sum for each of the next 6, and 4 dim sum for each of the remaining 6. You'll still have some dim sum left over when you're finished, but just leave them in the bag for now. Now, shuffle up all 18 steamers, randomly stack them into 3s, and put those stacks on the 6 spaces of the turntable. Do your best to avoid looking at what dim sum is in the steamers that aren't on top of their respective stacks. Honor system, folks. Note that your steamers should all be facing like so, with the inner stacking ring pointed upright. If you've done it wrong, at least with the deluxe dim sum pieces, you'll figure that out pretty quickly because the steamers won't stack right. An alternative way to set up the steamers is to have the players all take turns drawing dim sum to fill them and placing them directly in stacks of their choice on the board, alternating between 2, 3, and 4 dim sum each turn. So, the first player draws 2 dim sum for their first steamer, second player draws 3, and so on. This will work out to be a little more fair and balanced at any player count that isn't 3, since each player will then have opportunities to stack steamers with different dim sum counts. Once the steamers are set, put all the food tokens and the lucky die in a central supply near the board, place the scoreboard on the table, and put the steamer counter token on the starting space for your player count. Shuffle the fortune deck and put it on the scoreboard, then shuffle the fate deck and deal out 18 cards to form a draw pile. Put the remaining fate cards back in the box. If you feel like playing nice with your friends, you can pull out the fate and fortune cards with this symbol in the bottom right corner before you set up the respective decks. But where's the fun in that? The turntable game board should be situated such that each player is facing a feast zone. Feast zones are delineated by the little hash marks on the indicator ring. If your seating arrangement makes it tough to tell which zone belongs to who, you can use the feast zone marker tokens to help remind you. Give everybody one of these handy turn reference cards, then each player takes 2 random animal boards, picks one to play, and tosses the other one back in the box. These animals all have their own special ability and different score values for different dim sum, so choose carefully. The rulebook recommends using animals marked with a teacup icon for your first game, and suggests you don't use the ones with a 3+ if you're only playing with 2 people, but do whatever makes you happy. There's an appendix with examples for all these animals' abilities at the back of the rulebook if you have any questions. Once everyone's selected their animal, place the matching animal tokens for each player in the VIP guests area on the scoreboard. Then take a look at the starting resources on your animal board and take food tokens from the supply and fortune cards from the deck accordingly. Give the first player token to a random player, and you're ready to get the meal underway. On your turn, you'll perform 2 different actions from the list on your reference card. You can take any combination of actions in any order, but you can't take the same action twice on the same turn. When you take the Gain 1 food action, take a food token from the central supply. You'll use these to purchase steamers and collect dim sum later, which is how you'll score points. Keep all your food tokens on the table in front of you where everybody can see them. When you take the draw one fortune card action, you'll draw a fortune card from the top of the deck. Keep these cards secret until you play them. There's no hand size limit, so hoard as many of them as you feel like. After you've drawn your card, you can rotate the turntable 90 degrees in either direction, if you want to. When you take the play one fortune card action, play one of the cards in your hand, resolve its effect, and put it in the discard pile. We'll talk about some of the things fortune cards can do later on. And after you've played your card, you can rotate the turntable 90 degrees. The exchange action lets you discard 2 fortune cards to grab another food token from the supply. You probably only want to use this one as your second action, when the first action is the one that lets you gain that food token without discarding cards. But hey, you do you. Lastly, and most importantly, the purchase action is how you score points toward victory, and a full belly. Discard food tokens back to the supply, matching the dim sum inside one of the steamers on top of a stack inside your feast zone. A steamer is inside your zone if at least part of it is between the 2 hash marks on the indicator ring. Take that steamer and move all the dim sum on it to the leftmost empty spaces on the corresponding tracks on your animal board. Score points equal to the numbers you just covered up with all those dim sum, and move the steamer counter 1 space to the right. Keep the empty steamer somewhere near your animal board. If you manage to fill a track for one type of dim sum, you can still claim them, but you won't gain any points for them anymore. Pile the extras to the right of your player board as a monument to your gluttony. Once every player has taken a turn, the round is over. At the start of the next round, reveal a fate card from the top of the deck and place it face up on the discard pile. Resolve its effects immediately. If it has any during this round effects, it stays active until the end of the round, when a new fate card is revealed. Let's talk a little bit about those fate and fortune cards now, shall we? Some of them refer to the player with the fewest HP. HP stands for hearty points. That's your score. So, this card refers to whoever has the lowest score. If there's a tie, whoever's furthest away from the first player in the current turn order takes it. And if more than one player gains tokens or dim sum at the same time, resolve that in turn order as well. Some of these cards will move the first player token to a different player. This is the only way this token gets moved. You don't pass it at the end of a round. If it moves in the middle of a round, finish the round normally so that everybody gets an equal number of turns. But when you start the next round, start with whoever has the first player token now. Some cards and abilities will tell you to roll the lucky die. This thing's just a fancy D6, with dim sum icons accompanying numbers. And the card or ability will tell you whether the number or the icon matters when you roll it. The 4 face is blank on purpose, because the number 4 is unlucky in many East Asian cultures. So if you roll that, you're probably not getting shit. Some fortune cards will let you move steamers to different stacks on the turntable. When you play one of these cards, you can put a steamer on top of a full stack of 3, but no stack can ever go higher than 5. Some cards will let you take dim sum from the bag, or from steamers, and put them straight onto your animal board. When you draw from the bag, do so with a blind draw based on whatever house rules your group is comfortable with. If you're pulling from a steamer that's only got 1 dim sum left, remove that empty steamer from the board and lower the steamer counter. Some of these cards will let you swap dim sum from your board with a dim sum from a steamer. When you do this, you'll lose points for the dim sum you're giving up, then gain points right back for whatever dim sum you're taking instead. But if you had any bonuses from fortune cards or animal abilities when you scored that dim sum you're throwing back on the burner, don't sweat it. Those points are yours to keep. Similarly, if you're playing an animal that gives you a bonus for rows or columns, and you break up a row or column you've already completed and gained a bonus for, you don't get to claim that bonus again when you replace that dim sum later. Don't be greedy. The game ends in one of 2 ways. Either the fate deck runs out of cards, or the steamer counter hits 0. When either of those things happens, finish the current round so every player gets an even number of turns. Then move on to final scoring. Every player loses 1 point for every 2 leftover food tokens they're holding on to, and gains 1 point for every 2 fortune cards in their hand. Whoever has the most points is the winner. Ties go to whoever has the most dim sum on their animal board. And if you're still tied there, nobody wins, because nobody likes a tie game. And that's how you play Steam Up, a feast of dim sum. Hey, thanks for checking out BNB Tabletop, the home of the Board and Barrel, a live show every Sunday night at 5 p.m. Pacific where me and my buddies play board games. If you haven't seen it, you're missing out. We like to keep things interactive with our Buff and Nerf house rules that allow you to influence the course of the game, and virtual bingo cards that could win you a free board game of your own. So do us a favor, do yourself a favor. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and ding that notification bell. Thanks again for stopping by. We'll see you Sunday night.